Okay, dads, let's go ahead and get started, guys. Now, some of you've already let me know how uncomfortable you were in last week's meeting. So tonight, we're gonna try to respect each other's boundaries.
What?
Tonight, we've also got a guest with us, David. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm David.
What's up, David? How many kids do you have, David?
None, at least not at the moment. My wife is pregnant, and she should be delivering any day now.
That's great.
Super.
Great.
Who'd like to go first? Anyone? Anyone?
I'll go.
Perfect. Todd? Yes.
My daughter and I went to the mall, and she said she wanted to take the stairs to the second level. And I said, I don't trust stairs because they're always up to something.
Todd, I'm sorry that happened. I encourage you to try to resist the urge to make jokes like that.
My turn? Okay. Can I go? Okay. Yesterday, actually, my daughter got home and she asked me how my day was. And I said, well, a guy tried to sell me a coffin, but that's the last thing I need.
Oh, Jerry, that joke was dead on arrival.
Because it's the last thing I need.
David, how about you?
Oh, I didn't say
This is a safe zone. Just jump on in.
Yeah, I guess I'm just scared of being a dad. I'm afraid I'm gonna start telling bad jokes just like my dad.
Well, it might be in our nature. We can fight against it.
Hey, speaking of nature, I tried to catch some fog yesterday. I missed. M-I-S-T.
You're a monster. This is where the boundary is.
I'm done.
This is where you are.
Hello? Really? Okay, yeah, no. Yeah, I'll be right there. That was Julie. Her water just broke. I guess the baby finally ran out of womb. I'm gonna be a dad.
Don't you think you should be going?
Oh, yeah.
So I told my wife she drew her eyebrows too high. She seemed surprised.
Dad, maybe it's not that dad jokes are bad, but it's that women and children just have a really poor sense of humor. Maybe so. Well, true or not, it's no secret that a part of the legacy of a father is dad jokes, right? I think if I remember correctly, last year on Father's Day, John King received a gift from his children. It was a gift of dad jokes, right? And it was all this book full of stupid dad jokes that are always told. My kids roll their eyes at me, and my kids get the double whammy because it's the bad dad jokes and it's also bad preacher jokes, right? Right? So it's the double whammy. And that's just part of what we might call the legacy or part of being a dad. Something happens, and we start telling silly jokes that don't make any sense and that embarrass our children. That's probably the reason right there, isn't it? It's to sort of give our children a little bit of a hard time. That's the way we work. I don't know. Today is Father's Day, and to all you fatherly men, I tip my hat and offer honor to you for the work that you do and for the lives that you live as fathers before those to whom you are a father. As I share and challenge you, the fathers, this morning, I hope that everyone else present will recognize and listen, because it's not just fathers that receive the charge given this morning. It's also a message for all who believe in Jesus Christ. I may talk at a time or two directly to dads or to fatherly men, but it's not a message only for them. It's a special message for them, but it's a message for all who believe in Jesus Christ. Because the truth is, we all leave a legacy, and the legacy we leave matters for generations to come. It matters for generations to come. Pause for a moment and recognize that the person you are today is not simply because of the parents that raised you, but it's because of the parents that raised them, and the parents that raised them, and the parents that raised them. There are legacies for the legacy that you leave, or the legacy that you're living right now, is one that will last for generations. God has brought it will last for generations. In Joshua chapter 3, I jumped ahead a paragraph in my notes here. In Joshua chapter 3 and 4, we find record of the Israelite children preparing to end their season of wandering in the wilderness and to begin a new season of trust and dependence on God in the promised land that He promised generations before. We've looked at this particular recording before in their history, I know, but we look at it again today in light of the idea of legacy. Remember, if you will, that they spent 40 years wandering in the wilderness, long enough for the previous generation, the generation that came out of Egypt, to die. And for a new group of people, a new generation of Israel, to be ready to receive the promise. Why did that happen? Well, maybe you'll remember, because when God brought them out of Egypt through the wilderness to the Jordan the first time, they failed to have faith in Him. They became afraid of what they saw in the land that God promised would be theirs, the giant people. And they failed to have trust that what God was promised would be fulfilled. And so in their lack of trust, He left them to wander in the wilderness. He still provided and took care of them. He still sustained them. But remember, all of that sustenance, all of those blessings, all of that provision was only a small hint at what He really desired to give them. And so in Joshua chapter 3 and 4, we find the new generation standing at the Jordan River once again, faced with the question the generation before was faced with. Will we trust Him? Will we depend on Him? Will we believe in the promise that He has given for us? God has brought the new generation to the Jordan River, once again laying before Israel the opportunity to trust Him and to experience the fulfillment of His promised land for their own. They've been living on the small blessings that God had provided, but He's always had a desire to give them something more if they would only believe. As they prepare to cross the Jordan River this day, God calls on them to do something that might have seemed strange, but if followed, will serve as a lasting monument for the generations of this moment, of this decision, of this choice to trust God. He instructs that a member of each tribe select a large stone from the bed of the Jordan as they pass through. You see, what's about to happen is the Ark of the Covenant is going to make its way into the water, being carried as it's supposed to be. And as they step their first foot into the waters will part. Sounds like something familiar, doesn't it? The waters will part, and the Ark of the Covenant will go before them, and Israel, the children of God, will pass through the river into the promised land. And He instructs that a member of each tribe is to select a large stone from the bed of the Jordan as they pass through, and that then these stones are to be stacked together on the other side, where they will become a monument or marker of this moment in their history for generations to come. God specifically even says or tells Joshua, it's this marker, this monument is to be here so that when the generations to come, when the children point to it and say, Dad, what's that? What is that? We, the children of Israel, those that are crossing through, will say, that's where it happened. That's where we as a people finally believed that God was faithful to his promises. That's where we chose to trust him, despite the fear of the previous generations. That's where we chose to follow him through the water, to realize the fulfillment of his blessing and promise for us in the promised land. God intended that it be a legacy marker, a moment catcher, a monument to attest to the faithfulness of God and the trusting of his people in this moment. Joshua 4:6 tells us that purpose. I just mentioned it. That when people point, when their children point, when generations to come point, they will be reminded of what it means to trust in God. These stones would keep this legacy alive, this legacy of faith alive for generation after generation. Dads, believers, what kind of difference are you making in your homes or your circles of influence today? Is it possible that instead of proclaiming the truths of the gospel and pointing to the stones of remembrance, that you're pointing to something else? Is it possible that instead of leading people to know the abundant blessings of God, that you're pointing to sports or academics, to hard work or to entertainment, to development of self or finding the better me? Is it possible? These in themselves certainly aren't bad, and at times can be understood as blessings from God. However, we are not made to live in the small blessings that sustain us in this life. We are meant to thrive in the abundant blessing of grace that is found in the death of Jesus Christ and his resurrection. So as we seek to point not to a monument of stones, but to an emblem of a cross, let me suggest, dads, men, that the most important people are those who bear your name or belong to your family. It is all too easy to get caught up in making a name for ourselves in this world, but forgetting or letting our guard down when it comes to the people who matter most. In an article published in Christianity Today, Chris Papalardo writes, "For fathers to lead their homes spiritually is to embrace the work of the home rather than build an identity outside of it." I want to read that to you again. Fathers, to lead your homes spiritually is to embrace the work of the home rather than build an identity outside of it. Fathers and believers, let us strive to be the kind of people who leave a legacy in our homes as well as in our communities. May we be a people who first put those who matter most first, and entrust that we are constantly pointing them back to the emblem of the cross, or more importantly, to the footsteps of the Savior, rather than to the things of this earth that maybe are good things, but that are not near as satisfying and fulfilling as the God who fulfills his promises. As we live our lives, as we lead our homes, as we serve our communities, may we each take faithful steps to lead faithful steps that lead to stacking of stones. I'm going to say that again because I messed it up. As we live our lives, as we lead our homes, as we serve our communities, may we each take faithful steps that lead to stacking stones, to leaving a legacy that points to a God who fulfills his promises. Israel was only able to cross the Jordan because they heard, they believed, and they lived into the words of God. It was only after they followed his leading, if you will, the Ark of the Covenant that went before them. It was only after they followed his leading that they were able to experience his abundant blessings. We all are living a legacy just like them. And we are all pointing or leading someone somewhere. That's the bottom line. That's something that I believe to be true. We are all leading someone somewhere. You may not think it, you may not know it, you may not even be sure about it, but it is true. You're all leading. We are all leading someone somewhere. The question for you is, or the question for me is, the question for us is, where? Teenagers, those younger than you are watching you. I guarantee it. Those younger than you are watching you. Where are you leading them? Young adults, what do teenagers see when they look at you? Dads, your children are watching. What pattern are you modeling for them? Believer, there are a host of people that are looking to us and witnessing the life that we are living. Is it one worthy to be followed? May we all leave a godly legacy. May we all, like that stack of stones, be a monument, be a testament, be a witness to God's goodness, God's glory, God's work in our lives, so that people point and say, who are you? What is that? And when they do, we get to point them to God. To the God who became flesh and hung on a cross in order that we could be made right. To a God that embodied man, died to satisfy his own justice in order that we could be redeemed and brought back into relationship with him. Again, today is Father's Day. So before we close, I want to share a video blessing to fathers. Not a funny one like the previous one that only dads found funny, but a blessing, a prayer of blessing for our fathers. And after this prayer, or after this video, we will be dismissed in prayer by Connor Reed. Maybe while this video is being shared, if there's a fatherly man sitting around you, you might hold his hand or put your arms around him in affirmation of the legacy that he's living. In an affirmation that you would be in agreement with this blessing that is going to be offered on their behalf. I can tell you, you'll want to agree with it. You may be saying, well, I don't know what it is. Yeah, you'll want to agree with this blessing. Fathers, we honor you today because it's you. It's you that is leading your home and influencing not just your children, but the generations that follow. We honor our fathers that have gone before us because it's because of their leading, because of their influence, that we leave and lead a legacy today. So to our fathers, happy Father's Day. Grace and peace, and God bless.